Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday out there. Happy hump day. I'm glad we've made it halfway through the week, and hopefully you're all still hanging in there. I know there's a lot of heat and also a lot of severe storms right now for folks up into the Great Lakes, so we're definitely going to cover that in today's video, but I do have a sprinkle of kind of good news once we get towards the end of the video, so definitely make sure you stay tuned for that. But yeah, let me know how you're doing in the comments today. Let me know what you're up to, how your summer has been, and if you're excited for fall or if you kind of enjoy the heat. I know I personally am excited for fall, so I might be a little bit biased, but that is all right. But definitely let me know what you're excited for in the comments. Maybe you want to skip fall altogether and go straight to winter. Definitely let me know. Also, let me know where you're watching from if you haven't already. And if you're new here, welcome aboard. Definitely consider subscribing, liking the video, and sharing it with anyone you know of that might be interested or affected by some of this dangerous weather we're going to talk about today. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and jump right into it on our Wednesday afternoon. So taking a look at satellite imagery, that's where we always like to start here. You'll notice we do have a low pressure, kind of a piece of energy working its way through Wisconsin and Michigan right now. Now this is bringing with it a lot of severe weather today as well as tomorrow. And this isn't just a kind of a damaging wind threat. There's also quite a significant tornado threat, at least for this time of the year. Threat also, involved with this low pressure. So we'll definitely talk about that threat as we move through this video. Now, if you're outside of the Great Lakes region and you're kind of here along the eastern seaboard, it has just been a downright hot and humid day for a lot of folks. So, again, really just make sure you're staying hydrated, and definitely same story out here into the plains and sections of the Midwest where it has been also just dangerously hot for a lot of folks. And you can see that on our next map here. We have a lot of heat advisories here in these orange shaded areas. So kind of a big old blob of heat advisories right out here into the heart of the country, from Ohio all the way to South Dakota and as far south as Texas, getting in on this extreme heat, and also into the Northeast getting in on a lot of this heat as ahead of this low pressure system, it is helping to aid in that southerly flow, bringing very humid conditions as well as very warm conditions. So that is only helping to fuel these storms that we're seeing right now and helping to fuel just the really hot, uncomfortable weather as a whole. So, another thing I will mention here, sorry, I had a notification on my phone, got a little distracted there. Anyway, another thing I'm going to mention here is we do have some air quality alerts down into the southeast from major populated areas like Charlotte, Atlanta, and even into western North Carolina. This is due to a little bit of smoke, but really just mainly kind of normal ozone pollution that we get this time of the year on really hot days. And you can see on satellite, not too much smoke going on right now, but this is really just a byproduct of again, low-level ozone, which is making it slightly unsafe to breathe. So that, of course, is important to talk about. So looking at today's severe weather threat, this is one of the reasons I made this video a little bit earlier today than maybe some days, is because I do want to mention this severe weather threat because I kind of didn't touch on it too much yesterday, but to go into a little bit more depth today, again, we still have an enhanced risk, again, for places like Detroit, up towards northern and especially northwestern Ohio and northeastern Indiana, but also surrounding areas. And this slight risk and marginal risk stretches all the way from Buffalo, New York, down to kind of the Cincinnati area and back towards Indianapolis as well. As we go into tomorrow, this threat will continue, and likely I wouldn't be surprised to see an enhanced risk also added in here, kind of through areas of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, parts of New York, New Jersey, due to the fact that this is going to be a pretty potent storm system moving on through tomorrow. So if you're in this marginal or slight risk, definitely make sure you're staying weather aware tomorrow. Tomorrow's another one of those days that we do have a tornado threat as well. Now, the wind will be the main threat, but still, I wouldn't be surprised to also see a couple tornado warnings tomorrow, maybe even a strong tornado, meaning EF2 or higher equivalent. So definitely something you want to pay attention to there up into that neck of the woods. Now, as for what we're seeing right now and what we're going to see through the next couple of hours, again, a big area of storms moving through that enhanced slight and marginal risk that we have today. Again, main threat today will be damaging winds, but also can't rule out a brief tornado or two. So as we get into 6 o'clock tonight, this storm complex, will likely be kind of working its way across Lake Erie here. So we'll likely get some pretty impressive shelf cloud images out of this. But as this is rolling on through, definitely want to stay indoors because the wind's going to pick up. Can't rule out, again, an isolated tornado and some hail as well. Now, as we go into the evening, we're kind of going to get a second round as well. So this is going into 8, 9 o'clock tonight. You'll notice this is round one. So by 9 o'clock tonight, Erie, PA could be getting in on those severe storms. But behind it, we have another feisty line of storms working on through a lot of the same areas. So this could be a 1-2 punch. We could see what we're seeing right now move on through, then get a bit of a lull, and then closer into the overnight hours, once again see another swoosh of energy and storms move on through. Now, the good news is once we get past midnight, the strength of these storms should calm down before, unfortunately, we get into tomorrow afternoon and we get another flare-up of these strong storms. And tomorrow, I'm even more worried about the tornado threat because, as you'll notice, this isn't zoomed in too much, but a lot of these cells here are kind of isolated and discrete as they move on through New England. So that tells me it's going to be a little bit easier for these storms to rotate, a little easier for them to kind of feed themselves and begin to grow up into size. And again, a lot of wind energy tomorrow. So definitely watching that tornado threat tomorrow. The good news is, though, by the time we get into the overnight tomorrow and into our Friday morning, things look much nicer. Now, areas kind of south of here through the southeast, overall, it should be really dry through the next 48 hours. Can't rule out a brief area of showers moving on through Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia overnight tonight and into tomorrow. Definitely don't want to tell you that's not going to happen because it very well could, but overall, it's just going to be quite dry for most folks here south of the Ohio River. So taking a look at the overall pattern we're dealing with, again, we're kind of getting these pieces of energy. This is one that is going to swing on through, and this general pattern of energy kind of riding around the upper echelon of this high ridge is going to, lead to a couple of different storm systems. So you'll notice where these bars kind of compact a little bit more into this region and how it has this general flow to it. That's where we're going to see these storm systems kind of follow. So if you're into the northern tier of the country, expect on and off storm systems to work their way on through the next week. Now, that should continue, but this weekend and going into early next week is when kind of some good news happens. So you'll notice this big area of blue, or this trough up into Canada, as we go into this weekend and early next week, is going to sag southward and punch pretty deep into the eastern United States and help to cool things down. So this is going into next Monday. You'll notice this big trough kind of really helping to add some blue into the map, which means cooler weather, but also a bit stormier again for folks in the east. So the storms are always going to kind of follow around this big high pressure. So where you see the bars kind of get a bit closer, follow that general line that the bars are doing that on, and that's where we're going to see these storms flow on through. So now through this weekend, still looks very hot. Going into maybe Sunday into early next week, it does look like some relief on the horizon for us folks in the east, which is definitely some good news. But with that, does of course mean the return of storms. And going into the long range, again, just follow where these bars kind of are going in direction, and that is where the storm chances will increase. So definitely watching out for that. Now, showing this to you in the precipitation map, which is, of course, something that is a bit more applicable to maybe your daily life and a little bit easier to look at. Again, now through this weekend, we have this first round of storms working on through today and tomorrow through the Northeast and the Midwest. But behind that, we have another storm system going into our Thursday and Friday that will once again kind of work through the same areas and could bring severe weather once again. And that could, continue into this weekend with more rounds of that precipitation. Now, once we get into later this weekend and into early next week, as this trough dips back down south, expect storm chances to once again increase into the southeast, where we've been pretty dry this week. That will change, I think, going into the second half of this weekend and into early next week. So we'll definitely watch that on the horizon. Now, what does this mean in terms of the brutal heat and humidity we're seeing right now? Again, still expecting very hot weather now through Sunday. This is tomorrow afternoon, well above average temperatures through the Midwest where we have those heat advisories, but just above average temperatures for just about everyone really in the lower 48 outside of folks seeing those storms in the Northeast tomorrow. Now that, again, continues through the weekend. Going into our Saturday afternoon, though, you'll notice this area of troughing and cooler temperatures begins to kind of show up on the map here and kind of begins to sag southward. So as we go through early next week, you'll notice that really takes over the pattern. And again, by the time we get into next Monday afternoon and Tuesday afternoon, again, the blue really kind of takes over areas pretty far south. So that is something we'll definitely look forward to and hope that it verifies as this model is showing. Now, talking about the tropics, again, yesterday I said kind of cross off this one and this one, and sure enough, today we have only one area to watch. So give myself a pat on the back for that. That did end up coming true. So that is always good to see. But we do need to watch this area. Now, there is some good news with this I'll show you in a second. And this actually ties into that trough I was just talking about. But this invest right now, that it has just been classified as an invest, I do believe, is expected to have a chance of developing once it gets kind of out here over really right the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, kind of northwest of the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Now, obviously, anytime you see a storm get into this area, you get a little antsy because it's, in that general path towards the United States. The good news is, whether this develops or not, the models have been hinting at it likely going out to sea. So these are our GFS ensemble members. This is that low pressure system. Now watch what it does as it gets into this area to watch that the National Hurricane Center has designated. So we'll bring this forward. You'll notice this thing looks to develop. A lot of members here showing low pressure in this area, so pretty good confidence there. But what happens next is this kind of just scoots on out to sea. So this is for a couple reasons. One, this big Bermuda high out here is helping to not stretch all the way to the United States and allows things to kind of, ride around it. But also the other thing is just, if I can go back to the right map at least, is this big trough here. So with kind of the flow like this around that trough, that is also going to help to pick up any kind of hurricane or tropical storm out here and move it on out to sea with the trough. So this trough is going to bring cooler weather and also probably save us from some tropical mischief, which is definitely some good news there. So again, that's all I've got for you today on Wednesday. I appreciate you joining me and hanging in there, and I appreciate all of you who continue to comment. It does mean a lot to me. And of course, if you're new here, say hi in the comments, and it will be super cool to see. But with that said, I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday out there, and I will see you all tomorrow.